Hey everyone, welcome back to another enlightening episode of the Glassix Spotlight Show, your go to source for all things customer experience. Today you're in for a real treat. So let's talk about something we all care about but don't always nail: customer experience. And who's better to break it down for us than the absolute rock star in this field, Blake Morgan, also known as the Queen of Customer Experience. And let me tell you, it's a title well earned. Blake's not just talking the talk, she's walking it with not one, not two, but three books on the topic. Her latest hit, The Customer of the Future, is basically the playbook every big shot is reading to get ahead, especially with all the craziness COVID 19 brought. And hey, if you're into podcasts, which I'm guessing you are, you've got to check out Blake's show, The Modern Customer Podcast. It's all the rage and for good reason. Today, she's here to chat with us, share some wisdom, and maybe spill a few secrets about making customer love you, not just like you. But before we dive in, a quick shout out to Blake's website, blackmichellemorgan.com. It's packed with good stuff, so definitely give it a look. But all right, enough from me. Let's get this show on the road and give a warm Glassix Spotlight welcome to Blake Morgan. Blake, it's such a thrill to have you with us today.
Hi, Ron. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And I really am just very blessed that we're chatting right now.
Wow, thank you for that. So, Blake, before we dive into our engaging topics today, is there anything you're currently working on that you'd like to share with us?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Yeah, I mean, customer experience, it never stops. And I'm so happy that at this point, the topic is generally accepted as important, that most business people understand that we all sell commodities. And the only way to really differentiate is by providing something above and beyond. And the way we do that is actually making people's lives easier and better. So many industry disruptions are just experiences that entrepreneurs took that people by and large hate. Like Uber is a classic example. People that didn't like hailing taxis, Uber just said, why can't this be better, and created something better. Or Tesla, Elon Musk had a dream to make electric cars cool. He made an improved version of the Prius. And, now Tesla is one of the most powerful companies on the planet. So I think that people are just excited about brands that really go out of their way to innovate, to make their lives easier and better. And I'm a storyteller. I go around the world sharing stories of how businesses can win by making customers' lives easier and better. And I've learned that my real role is to give practitioners, so that these are change agents inside of companies, to give them tools to help communicate the importance of customer experience to their colleagues. So what am I working on? Wow. Well, I'll be promoting my new book very shortly, my third book, The 8 Laws of Customer Focused Leaders. I'm working on LinkedIn courses that I'm building, and my own course website, customerexperienceschool.com, which will have all kinds of resources for people. But yeah, I mean, life never stops. I have two little kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and my husband's an entrepreneur. So we are a busy house and just enjoying all these opportunities to work hard. You know how it goes.
Yes, I love that. Trust me, as a VP marketing for a seed stage startup,
Yes.
yes, I understand you completely. And yeah, you've been working on a lot of different stuff here. Wow. So, for our listeners, today's episode called The Future Proofing CX, Blake's Morgan Visions on AI Enhanced Experiences. And by the way, for everyone who's not aware of this, today's Customer Service Day. Not Customer Experience Day, it's Customer Service Day. Just thought it's worth mentioning.
Very
So,
nice.
yeah. Blake, in your view, how has the landscape of customer experience evolved in the advent of AI and automation technologies? Can you pinpoint a pivotal moment that significantly changed the game, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the invention of generative AI, the release of Chat GPT, you can go on Google Trends and just see that even just in the last year, interest by people searching for the term customer service AI just shot up last year like crazy. And just for me as a speaker flying around to different events, the people I meet, many CX leaders now are just in a mad dash to understand how AI can be a business accelerant for their contact centers. And they're really evaluating these technologies now and how they can create more automations, more accuracy, reduce pain points for contact center staff, and just create better customer experiences using AI. For me as a customer, I think the execution of this is we're still in the early phases. Too many companies still have clunky chatbots or voice activated assistants that don't work well, and the inability to opt out to a person. But I think it's an exciting time for those that are curious, for those that want to run experiments. And every company that I have seen is right now evaluating how AI can add jet fuel to their business. In some ways, we've seen layoffs, and it's just still not clear if employees are being laid off and AI is taking over. But we'll definitely see the workforce shift as we all kind of get our ducks in a row around these new technologies, figuring out how we can put them to work internally and externally.
Totally. And I loved your 2 points. The first one is actually my everyday hustle is how chatbots using generative AI to provide a better customer experience. And I'll share a small story here. One of the things that we kind of managed to do, we launched our conversational AI suite on May last year. So it's been around for a while now. And one of the things that we try to tackle in this market is that people just think that chatbots suck and people don't like the experience that chatbots provide. And one of the things that we did, we implemented GPT-4 engine with our conversational AI platform and actually created what's so called in the industry generative AI chatbots. And by doing that, brands that are working with us are able to not just saying, hey, we have a generative AI chatbot on our website. They're able to provide a better customer experience because what it does essentially is, that time that you go to a chatbot and then you try to type in something and then you get the obvious response, sorry, I didn't get that, or sorry, I don't understand. And then there's like this infinite loop and you're going back to the same point, kind of frustrated. So what we did here is that we're using GPT-4 engine with our chatbots, with conversational AI algorithms in order to kind of say, okay, we have an answer for everything. Even if you want to order pizza from Mars, or even if you want to know the weather in 2028, you're still going to get an answer. If it's relevant, it's relevant. If it's not relevant, fine. But it's a better customer experience than just say, okay, sorry, I don't get that. Sorry, I don't understand that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that's how we kind of change that for good for some of our customers.
Love it. Yeah. I want to know what the weather's going to be like. And can I order, did you say pizza from Mars?
Yes, yes.
That
And
sounds
some
good.
some some funny questions we managed to analyze during our end of the year analysis from different customers of ours, which you won't believe the type of things that people are trying on chatbots.
Oh,
But
right.
anyways, Blake, so in an era where technology is king, how should businesses balance the use of AI and automation with the human element in customer service? What are like key keys in maintaining this balance effectively?
I think we have to have the relationship lens on when we think about the contact center. Where are the ways that a human can provide a rich experience to a customer and not just often we treat the contact center, we look at it as if we're accountants, accounting for every dollar, for every minute. When the contact center is the best place to invest if you care about customer experience. So, how can we reduce stress for customers by creating incredible human experiences where the brand is actually one step ahead of the customer, knowing what they might need? Let's say you're an insurance company and your child is turning 16, no longer a child in America, then you can drive. So that requires a different type of insurance. Or a family is having a baby and that requires a different type of insurance, or they're moving, or it's rainy season. And I think that companies like USAA, the insurance companies, these are companies that are one step ahead, that are proactively reaching out to customers, providing value, helping them. So it's really this service mentality. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's so great. And he has a book called Be Useful, which to me is the heart of customer service. His book about being useful. And it's just about finding ways to add value to people's lives all the time. And AI and machine learning can plow through millions of pieces of data to help be one step ahead of the customer, to add value, to be useful, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I love that example. Actually, I saw the movie in Netflix, but I have not yet had the chance to read the book though. But I'm probably going to do that after this conversation. Wow, love
Sounds
the example.
great.
Yeah. So, Blake, let's talk about personalization in customer experience. We all know it's crucial, but how do you see AI shaping the ability of businesses to offer personalized experiences at scale? So, like, are there any risks or challenges you foresee in this approach?
Yeah, I think at this point, I still see so many amazing brands just not even getting the table stakes of customer experience. Let me give you an example. For New Year's, my friends and I went to a big party. I had to order a lot of different clothes, knowing I would send some of them back. These retailers will send you the items, you send them back. In the meantime, they ask you for a review on the website of the, let's say, a dress. But if you sent the dress back, the brand shouldn't ask for a review of it because it's not going to be a positive review. So at this point, I see so many brands falling flat on their face with personalization, not even getting the table stakes. On the flip side, a brand that understands the power of personalization is not just thinking of it as putting the first name in a newsletter. It's really thinking like Spotify, using AI, Spotify, the music streaming service, where for example, their time capsule playlist. Spotify creates a time capsule playlist, and they've been doing this for years based on AI and the age of the consumer, providing music that makes them think back to their teenage years. And people just love these time capsule playlists. Machine learning and AI, like companies like Spotify, really understand how to create such a rich experience based on data, based on the breadcrumbs that the customer provides. Walmart is another example that is doing a heavy push into AI and machine learning and data, using the breadcrumbs from the customer to constantly think of ways to innovate and create more personal experiences, whether that is in the store, through the app, on the website. And that's really how these brands need to think. They have to think of themselves as technology companies, because if you're not providing a personal experience, but the company down the road is, you can rest assured that your customer would prefer to do business with a company that is putting effort into personalization and reducing stress for them.
Yeah, I love these examples, especially these big ones from Spotify and Walmart. I think Netflix also doing that pretty well on this domain. Um,
Yes.
we're trying to do that. We're actually doing that, but constantly improving. So the way we do that in our platform is that we provide customer support agents and admins of the system with an AI feature that auto tags the conversation. So, what the AI does when a customer query came in, it reads the context through the interaction. So, it can be one message or 25,000 messages from the same customer, right? But over time, the AI reads the context, it analyzes the keywords, and then it tags the conversation. For example, let's say it's a support issue, or it's a billing issue, or it's a anything that the business decides and predefine in the system. And then the AI helps the business to not just tag the conversations, but also segments the type of customers. And then with this powerful data, the business is able to kind of analyze and say, hey, we really have a serious problem with billing in January. Let's find out what happened there. um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the kind of stuff that really moves the needle for our enterprise customers. By the way, we serve from 2 or 3 people, small businesses, to very large enterprises. But we found that the large enterprises are using these models very well, and they're able to become much closer to their day-to-day data.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Sounds like you're helping a lot of people.
We're trying. Yeah. So, Blake, ethical considerations in AI are a hot topic. From your perspective, what are the key ethical concerns businesses should address when implementing AI in customer experiences?
I would encourage everyone listening that is thinking about the ethics of the programs that they roll out. You have to talk to your customers. You really won't know what they're comfortable with unless you ask them. And there has been so many data breaches, so many problems in the last few years after COVID, especially, that not only do we have to take cybersecurity very serious and privacy of our customers, but we need to be in a constant state of talking to them. What are they comfortable with? What can we do? What should we not do? What is creepy and what is helpful? What is the difference? And the only way you'll find out is if you actually talk to customers. And I would encourage people to get away from surveys to get back to the qualitative data where you talk to customers directly, you have focus groups, and you spend time every single year, every single month talking to customers about what they prefer, and then build from the customer experience out.
Totally. And I want to touch on this point a little more because, we're in the SaaS space, and there are a lot of our listeners are in the SaaS space, or let's say even startup space. Um, what would be your number one recommendation for that type of companies, in terms of talking to their customers? I know surveys are not going to cut it anymore, probably not anymore. There will be like gathering groups, there will be like workshops, there will be like, I don't know, weekly or bi-weekly or monthly conversations that you conduct with specific customers. What would be your like number one recommendation to go about that?
I would say my advice for SaaS companies is the same as it would be for any company. Just because you have a subscription software business doesn't mean you can't talk to customers. Go out with customers, meet them, understand their businesses, spend time with them. It's probably even more important because if you're not interfacing with your customers all the time, you don't really know them. But if you can be interested and find out what keeps them up at night, what their challenges are, you'll create a better relationship. So I would say that B2B SaaS, it's really the same as I would tell any business, that if you want to differentiate on customer experience, you do have to put more effort into seeing your customers all the time, having relationships with them, and don't just take for granted that subscription, that it's not passive income, but that you keep getting you keep getting money. You're getting you're billing a lot of companies. Those are people with faces, with challenges, and I think a lot of software companies in the US, I'll give you an example. I was in Texas the other day at a conference having lunch, and these two executives were from a company. They sell seeds. So they are not B2C, but they sell seeds to companies here in the US, like Home Depot, where you might go there to buy landscaping materials. And they found that this major B2B SaaS retailer, they just kept trying to sell the customer the upgraded version of the software without listening. In fact, the executives told me one day in a meeting, these sales guys just talked at them for an hour. They didn't ask one question about the seed company's business or anything. And they were so turned off. They're still a customer because there's only one player in this particular type of software. However, soon all these companies will be disrupted, and the client experience is the only differentiating factor. So even if you're a SaaS software company, you still have to be on your toes. Don't let your salespeople dictate the customer experience. Make sure you're listening, you're understanding their needs, and you're not just thinking about how will the customer upgrade to my new software without really talking to them, or thinking of their needs in real time all the time.
It's a great example, and as much as it's a great example, I dislike the way that salespeople are leading the customer experience, and I've seen that firsthand. After being in six different SaaS companies, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So my question to you would be, who would be the one that is leading the charge of CX within the organization? I'm asking that because in, let's say, a matured SaaS company, for example, we should have a very strong sales leadership, and we should have a vast of marketers, and we should have probably also quite a big of customer success department. But who should be the one that is leading the CX transformation from within?
In my opinion, this customer experience efforts are best when led by the CEO, because you can rest assured that if the CEO is driving this client experience, that everyone's going to pay attention. So I think it has to be someone with power, with influence, and someone that has money. Because if you just appoint a chief customer officer with no budget, no power, no authority, they're going to fail. But if you have a CEO that is personally interested and involved in client experience, that client experience is going to be incredible. And so I think it has to be the supreme leader of the company to drive it. If they don't have to drive it themselves, but they have to be involved. They have to appoint someone that actually has power and influence. The metrics have to match too, because what's measured gets improved. And if you measure it, if you treasure it, you'll measure it. You know, these colloquialisms in English. So that means that the CEO generally tells the entire company what is important. What are we measuring? How do we know employees here are successful? And if it's not tied in any way to client experience, I wouldn't expect employees to work toward any kind of client experience. The employees have to be held accountable and the whole company has to be moving in the same direction. But often, at least here in the US, you hear of companies that hoard data, like in hospitals. They compete with each other. They are not building an experience around the customer. They're just trying to hit their own performance metrics to make their bonus. And that's a mistake. So I think that the CEO is honestly the best chief customer officer, but if the CEO doesn't have the bandwidth, they still need to be involved, and then appoint someone that can be the supreme leader, whether that's the COO, the CMO, or a chief customer officer.
I love that. And I have to ask you this $1 million question, and then we'll shift over to our next kind of thing that we want to talk about. So how do you actually, and I think that's for our listeners like going to be the $1 million question, 100%. How do you tie? So let's say I'm a customer service agent, or I'm a head of customer support department, for that matter. How do you actually tie CX efforts cross departmental with revenue driven metrics?
Yeah, well, I think someone needs to be in charge of tracking, firstly, the ROI of client experience. And I recently, on my podcast, The Modern Customer, interviewed the head of customer experience for, it's called Block, and they own Square, which is a financial payments company. And she was saying the importance of managing your customer experience and contact center almost like you're thinking about it like a business person. So, how do you tell the story of your contact center? How are you tracking how you're saving your company money or making your company money? The head of customer experience for AAA, which is they sell a lot of products. So the biggest product in America is the roadside service. So if your car breaks down, you'll call AAA and have them send a tow truck. Anyway, Brian Sander told me that he proved how he saved his company $100 million by creating a really good self-service digital app. $100 million is real money. And so I think once the contact center leader starts helping the business understand how they are creating better customer experiences and then saving their company money or making their company money, that's a game changer. As far as metrics across the business, an example is Sephora, the makeup company. Before COVID, the CTO, Ollie Bauhaus, went through a digital transformation. And what he did is he realized that all of the different organizations within Sephora were competing. The salespeople in the stores were competing with the app, which were competing with the website, and all the stores were competing. And they just were trying to meet their numbers. So what he did was he knocked down that organizational structure to create an organizational structure that was more conducive to the customer experience. And that was a game changer where all of the incentive programs were changed. And so you went from a prior version of little fiefdoms where groups compete to building a metrics program that actually drove the behaviors and the outcomes that the leaders wanted.
I Absolutely love this answer. And, I think that even as for example, for anyone listens and works as a customer service or support agent or head of department, you should all know you're contributing to the company and you're making the business money, regardless of what you've been told or what you're thinking right now. And Blake just shared how you do that. And thank you for that, Blake. So,
You're so welcome.
absolutely. So, Blake, how are customer expectations evolving in response to more AI driven services? What do you think businesses should do to stay ahead of these changing expectations?
I think one of the challenges for customer service departments is just the speed to answer. Like, we know as customers, we can get a faster answer if we just Google something or find it ourselves. And so often, contact center agents don't even have the tools to get the customer the answer quickly enough. And so I think if we start arming our contact center agents with better tools through AI, through generative AI, and it's called Gen AI Assist to our agents, then they're going to be able to solve problems for customers faster. And if you do a good job, you might even have the opportunity to upsell or cross sell a customer. And so these tools can be used internally to provide not just a better client experience and reduce stress for customers, but if you earn the right to even upsell or cross sell them, now you're really making money for your business. But that only comes from um, doing the table stakes really well, from solving the basic problem the customer came in for really well, and then maybe you can even upsell or cross sell them because the agent has earned the trust of the customer.
Totally. And if you're using a proper omni-channel software, you can also keep the interactions, or you can switch between channels and kind of not losing the history of the customer. Let's say you interacted with them 2 months ago, and then a month ago, and then today. The customer still knows who you are, and you know who the customer is because the history is there. And that's kind of our sweet spot here at Glassix. That's kind of what we do best. Um, and it was music to my ears when you said that agents should be better using Gen AI, or being better equipped with Gen AI knowledge in order to make their day to day much more productive and easier. So we kind of understood that. We usually conduct quarterly surveys in app to our users, and what we have came up with are three game changing features, if you wish. One of them is allowing agents to, in one click, auto summarize the entire conversation and using AI. So they get an entire conversation. It could be like 10,000 notes or characters, whatever. And they can just one click and summarize it using Gen AI from within the platform. The other thing that we kind of released for customer support and service agents is the ability to use auto suggested replies. So, for example, you're in a conversation with a customer, regardless of the channel, right? It can be using Apple Business Messages or email or web chat, or just be it. We support a lot of different channels. The ability to use auto suggested replies, that okay, you read the customer question and then you said, oh god, now I need to type this again, I'm not a robot. So you just click auto suggested reply, the AI analyzes the customer query, and it gives you between 2 to 4 different answers. All you have to do is click the ones you like the most, and there you have it. That's another way
Mm-hmm.
we kind of using that. um, and the last one was auto tagging, which I kind of discussed previously in our discussion today. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
we try to make their day to day a bit easier using AI, regardless of periodic workshops and tutorials and everything that can assist them to be just better at what they do with the help of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Love that.
So, Blake, I have to pick your brain on this one before we wrap up. So, drawing from your rich experience in CX, what are your top recommendations for businesses looking to integrate AI and automation? Could you share any personal insights and strategies that has particularly resonated with you?
Yeah, I think that for me, the focus is the contact center. So I would really talk to your more seasoned agents too when you implement these generative AI agent assist technologies inside. that you have to involve your employees. Don't just force them to use technologies that don't make sense. The human experience should always be number one. You don't want to remove the human experience from work for your people, for your agents. And then you don't want to force half baked AI technologies on customers if the technology hasn't been thoroughly vetted. If you haven't personally walked through the customer experience, hey, and let's just add in the employee experience. Be careful to release these new technologies. It's like the old saying, if you want something done, you should do it yourself. That if you haven't personally checked, even like a chef trying the food. You ever eat something, Ron, cooked by someone where you can tell they didn't even try the food when they were making it? Like a good chef tastes their own food as they cook. It's the same with contact center technology. Unless the technology has been vetted by the leaders, then I would be very, very careful. It's better to have no technology than clunky technology that adds stress to customers and employees' lives.
Right. I love your point about combining CX with EX and kind of the implications it has. And it's so spot on. Well, Blake, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate the conversation. I'm sure our listeners would even more. Anyone who's keen to get more insights on CX, AI, and anything in between, you're more than welcome to follow Blake Morgans on LinkedIn. Blake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, maybe on your podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Blake.